upon that global launch, we're busy with initiating action plans on our campus, as well as encouraging people across the globe to initiate those action plans in their communities and on their campus. So this global forum is really to discuss what we can do in terms of eradicating gender inequalities. And I think it's very important in these discussions to include various aspects of gender equality. And that can also mean different things for a lot of different people. And, you know, in your perspective from where you are in the world, it can mean something different to you. So that's what we're really looking forward to, is hearing those different perspectives. Okay. So we have a couple of people who wrote on, okay, so Barry says, hey, I can hear you. I'm calling from Pennsylvania, US. Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you. And Sunita is here as our guest speaker. We have Natalie Leach. Natalie is from, sorry.
I think Ohio, she said.
Ohio, yes.
Also in the US. I muted myself. Sorry, guys.
Okay, well, I think we can start off. I know Sunita, she needs to get to class sometimes, so we're first going to start off with just a little introduction. So basically, Sunita is a senior at the University of Texas, Austin. She's studying nutrition, business, and public policy. She is the president of her university's Girl Up Club, and she was an intern with Girl Up this summer and at the United Nations Foundation. And this is when we got to meet her at the MCC conference, and she was one of the representatives who came and spoke to us and gave us a bit of information and how to go about actually launching our campaign, which is amazing. So yeah, what we want to do at first is just give Sunita the floor so she can just tell us how she feels about the topic that we're going to speak about, and maybe some things that she's felt has happened to her within her leadership positions.
Thanks, guys. This is so exciting. I can't believe it's only been like a little over a month. Well, I guess a month and a half since I've seen you guys, and it's already going so well. So great job. I'm so happy for you guys. Thanks so much for having me here. Yeah, sorry, I have a midterm today, so I have to go in a little bit. But I guess I wanted to talk more about women in leadership positions and kind of, I feel like a lot of, ooh, somebody came, I guess. So, I think a lot of women and girls our age are not afraid to take leadership positions, but they don't feel like it's a normal thing to be in leadership positions, or even like at my university, be, you know, presidents, or even be, you know, they would be like an officer position, but they wouldn't like want to be a president. And I think that is one of the biggest issues with the workplace. I felt like this summer too, working at the UN Foundation. Like obviously Girl Up is totally girls, but most of the other campaigns within the UN Foundation are run by, you know, excuse my language, but, you know, old white guys. I think it's really important to, you know, have girls in leadership positions and, you know, fight for equality, because God knows that we are not being paid equal also, which is a whole nother issue. But I just wanted to know all of your guys' opinions too, because since we're all like literally from around the world, you know, if you feel like at your universities or where you guys work, if, you know, women are striving for those leadership positions, and, you know, are they getting those leadership positions even if they try, or, you know, is management kind of preferring the guys over the girls? So I just kind of wanted to preface the conversation around that mainly.
Okay, well, Sunita, it's so great to see you again and to hear from you again. but we'd also love to hear from others as well. And we have a couple of questions. So I think what we'll do is we'll sort of put the questions out there, and then during the conversation, everyone can just think about them and then how they want to answer these questions. And then if anyone has anything else to add, then we'd just like to open up the floor so we can answer this, and then we'll share a little bit about our perceptions as well about women in leadership. And then Sunita, whenever you need to leave, we know you're busy today, so we really don't mind. Okay, so I posted an article which I thought was quite interesting on our page. And it basically, I'd sort of put out some questions there just for people to in mind during this conversation. So the following questions. This article was called Breaking the Glass Ceiling. And so the glass ceiling was really just the metaphor for the challenges that women face in, either in their careers, in leadership, in a lot of roles within society. And it might not necessarily be in your career, but it may be even in, as a leader community, or in, your community service group or a student group on campus. And so there were a couple of questions that I thought about, and these were the following. It's to define that glass ceiling. So the glass ceiling for us could be completely different to someone who is living in the US, or to someone who's living, anywhere else in the world. But it also could be very unique and personal to that person. So let's deal with that first question, and I think maybe we can share a little bit about what we feel as women in leadership roles. And I completely agree with Sunita. I think often, especially on our campus, quite a few girls are, and I think that comes from insecurities that I think in general have this tendency to criticize themselves first and be extremely critical on themselves, because they feel that they need to prove themselves in these spaces. So they have to prove that they can be accepted into a space that's dominated by men. So they tend to be a bit more critical on themselves. And I think this is also can maybe be seen in the workplaces, like according to this article that I read, that women tend to adopt male sort of characteristics sometimes. So, for example, would you be taken more seriously if you were wearing a pantsuit and had your hair tied back than if you were wearing a pretty dress with maybe floral print? You might not be taken seriously because there's this expectation of you to adopt an aggressive and a more aggressive, perceived as approach to your work and to your leadership position. And I think women need to challenge themselves to rethink how they perceive themselves and their own abilities. And I think that's the important thing, is that we can encourage women to also be more self-secure, and to say, hey, you have the skill and you have and you have exactly the same talents and the same equal intellect, that you can actually be in those roles, in those leadership positions.
And if I could just add on that, I think one of the main problems, especially with women leaders, is that there's not enough role models. So that comes with us not being able to, find that self-confidence, because there's not a lot of people to look up to. You look into a lot of the corporate world, or even leadership roles, male presidents, things like that. It's a lot of male role models that people get to look up to. But in the women's world, there's not a lot of that. And it's difficult for us to try and find a path to take if there's nowhere we can learn from. So it's all new things that we're trying to now get up and get involved in, and making new paths for ourselves when we don't have something to really build up on, which maybe is something that we as the youth can start doing, so that, younger women, when they get to this stage, they'll be and have the role models as us to look up to. I think that's something that we should, as student leaders, look up to and strive for. If anybody has anything to add to that, anything that they feel, something that a different idea, viewpoint on that, maybe on their campus.
Well, can you guys hear me? So I like the idea of having a role model, which we don't have these days. People usually like in leadership positions, and if you look at in Africa, more than 90% of presidents or leaders of the countries are male. Even when you go down from the presidents to like other leadership positions, so it's hard to actually do something that's not used to, that society is not used to, and most societies are kind of afraid of change. So what we should do is we should start communicating with the society, start introducing these new ideas, bringing women into the up front, and challenging their views and educating them, making them aware, and more importantly, making it practical, challenging them to do it themselves, going into the society and challenging women and different parts of the society to step up and show their leadership skills. So it requires a little bit of work stepping into the society and making some changes, because it's kind of hard to introduce change in any society. People wouldn't do things that they're not used to do before. So we need to do more education and creating more role models, and making it more practical and making themselves be leaders, and to see it and show it for others as well, and be role models. So that's what I think about it.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks so much, Barry. I really like this idea of something you said, just making it more practical. And so instead of, for example, even us talking now, making discussions like this more practical, where you can actually go into the communities and say, we have a skills development project, so that women can then harness those skills and then be empowered. So I think that's also very, very necessary, and it's quite poignant that you noted that, the practical part of this conversation. So thank you so much for that input. And I'd really encourage everyone to think about that idea, so we can carry that thread throughout this conversation. So towards the end, we want to maybe come up with a list of resolutions that we could incorporate into our various action plans. So to say, if building leadership is part of what we're advocating for within gender equality, then these are some of the ideas that we can sort of carry through in our projects. So yeah, we'd love to hear your input. And then if there's anyone else that would like to comment on this question, maybe you could just send us a quick message in the group chat. Otherwise, I can move on to the next question, if that's fine. Okay, and is there anyone who would like to perhaps ask Sunita a little bit more about what Girl Up does? Do they have any questions for her? Because we'd really like to get the most out of her before she leaves. Maybe perhaps I actually have a question for Sunita. I think I'd like to know how I know God does quite a bit of work in India, for example, and there are other countries as well. And I want to know perhaps what the impact has been, and how is that is that inspiring to you to see how far reaching your organization is, and how does that inspire other women to get involved in your organization?
Yeah, so Girl Up works in 5 countries right now: Ethiopia, Guatemala, Liberia, Malawi, and then now India. was recently like launched this past summer. I actually went to Malawi like 2 weeks ago with Girl Up to see like our whole like project in action in the country, and it was probably one of like the most inspiring things I've ever seen. I know that sounds very cliche, but I think we went there to distribute about 600 bikes because some of these girls were walking, 40, 50 kilometers to school every day, which is really insane to think about. But I think hearing the girls, and we spent almost a week there, and so every day we would like go back and talk to the girls, and we would spend the whole day there, and just to hear their stories and how much they value education, and how much I know like people here like on my campus and me before I went on this trip just like take education for granted, and that we have good public school systems here, and a lot of people do go to college here, and it's just very normal. I think going to Malawi was like reinvigorated why I'm working with Girl Up and why we do the work that we do, is because even though you don't see your fundraising dollars go into action, because like not every Girl Up person is going to be able to go to one of the countries that we help and see the programs, but just to know that you're actually like truly making an impactful difference was super inspiring. And I think it made a difference to at least my club here at UT Austin, because I came back and I just like kept talking about my trip and the experiences to my club, and they were just really inspired as well, because they only took one campus leader and they took the one from UT Austin. So that made them feel like, okay, then they know that Girl Up knows that UT is doing a good job fundraising and advocating for girls around the world. And we have an event coming up next week where some people from Girl Up are coming down. So they know that Girl Up knows they're doing well, and they just are really excited now. So it was inspiring for me and inspiring for the club. So it was all around awesome. Yeah.
That's really amazing.
But just really quick, I'm so sorry. If anybody has a question, I have like 5 to 10 more minutes, and then I have to go to my test. But I'm up for any questions.
Okay, yeah. If you have anything, if you're maybe too shy to speak, or you can also just put it on the chat, and then we'll be able to get that through to Sunita as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, well then we won't keep you any longer, Sunita. Shame. Feel bad keeping you from your test. But thank you so much for joining us, really. It was so great to hear from you. We're looking forward to working with Girl Up as well. I think what we can share with you now, that one of our ideas is to encourage Girl Up, to establish Girl Ups we have like a couple of all-girl campuses, but they're for high school learners. Yeah, so we want to go and we want to encourage them. So it's like 14-year-olds to 18-year-olds, basically, in the high school year, and the 3 campuses. We'd like to establish some Girl Ups there. So, yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll connect with you so that you can help us with that process.
Oh, totally. Oh my God, they're going to be so excited. That's awesome. Well, good luck, girls. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Good luck with your test.
Nice.
Thanks.
So,
What is this?
It's Zoom.
Why is it not playing?
I don't know.
Hello?
Did you call?
hello.
It was an accident. Do we have another caller who's just joined us?
I think so.
Interesting. Well, it
Okay.
may have been an accident, or it may not have been. But that was fantastic. That was a great introduction. We were so glad Sunita was able to make it. Would you guys, how do you feel about taking a minute or two to just talk about the campaign's program itself, and what we envision for the campaign? And it could also be an opportunity for anyone on the call who has questions about what this whole campaign program entails.
Okay. So I think it's a safe space to share that this campaign project was really, it is a work in progress. And I think we started this campaign with this idea that we were going to, go help human trafficking victims and domestic violence victims and build these shelters. So we had all these crazy ideas, and although we were really passionate about that, it was so great to connect with MCN, because they gave us such good guidelines on like what to, how does an issue escalate to the point where there are victims of domestic violence or victims of human trafficking, and those victims are, mostly either because of gender-based violence or because they've been a victim of like gender discrimination. So that was really great that MCN helped us refine our thinking around the campaign. And then we decided that we would, take an approach where we would like to eradicate the gender inequalities that do exist in our communities, on our campus. I think we can say from our side, from the South African perspective. So during apartheid, women, and not just women, actually, people who even didn't identify with like specific polar genders and fit into gender stereotypes, they, didn't, so they weren't really, their rights weren't recognized. And now in the new dispensation, where we have this wonderful constitution and our right to equality is recognized on paper, necessarily the case with the actual norms that exist in society. So what we envision for the campaign is really to focus on changing those stereotypes and those norms that exist. And that could be things like from traditional cultural norms. So we have, we do have quite an extensive cultural and traditional society in South Africa. So we're looking at speaking to people who hold these traditional values that women, for example, are inferior, or people who don't necessarily identify with polarized genders or, shouldn't fit into these norms. But so we're looking at really changing that, changing people's perspectives by saying, let's open up the conversation and let's talk about gender rights being a human issue. And by doing that, it's really essential to start from roots and be on a presence on campus and open up the conversation. So we have a couple of action plans. I'm sure those of you who were at NCN heard of some of them. We've also got to talking to a couple of sorry. Yeah, we've been, so basically these action plans are really just to initiate things like this, like opening up conversations at various residences, having a gender bender ball, equality ball, and then we have the 16 days of activism on the 25th of November, but we could, we will share those ideas on the Facebook group as well. And then, a couple of other ideas have sort of come up, but we'll share that all, I think, on Facebook as well.
Yeah. I think now if we can just take a bit of time just to see where we are at, if you guys have something you want to say or something that you thought of before the conversation took place, if you can we'll take like 2 minutes, everybody can just mute their screens or whatever, and then you can just get some ideas together, and then you can come back again and just, come up with a new question or something else that you're thinking of, so that we can just try gather what we're saying and then move forward onto the next. Okay.
Okay, so maybe just to get the conversation rolling, maybe I can just put a question out to everyone who's joined this conversation, talking about, women in leadership. How, then this is just a broad question to everyone. Whose responsibility is it to eradicate gender stereotypes in leadership? Because I know I've asked this question to a couple of people, and many people have different views. A couple of my male friends have said that gender equality, with it comes this sort of this connotation of a double standard. And I found that quite interesting. And then there were also obviously male friends of mine who didn't necessarily think that. So it would be great to hear what, maybe some views are on this leadership, on what leadership and whose responsibility it is to eradicate stereotypes.
Hi, do we have some new callers who just joined us for this forum? I see an Abigail, and I see we have a caller, 719-3777-528. If you guys just want to take a moment to say hi and introduce yourselves, we'd love to hear where you're calling from as well.
I'm also 719. I think I'm connected twice. But hi, I just wanted to say hello. That's all.
Oh, who is that? Is this Abigail?
Yeah, I'm also 719. I think I'm on both.
Oh, great. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Just listening in for a little while.
Great.
Okay, good to see you all.
Yeah, okay. Well, if anyone had any thoughts or questions, feel free.
Back and Chiara.
Yep.
It looks like Natalie's writing.
Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about what we've discussed so far? Anything on their mind?
So we thought maybe we'll just carry on speaking a bit about what exactly the campaign is going to be, especially now, because it falls in with the fact of whose responsibility is it, because everybody kind of needs to take their own responsibility, and if you accept the fate that's given to you, you're kind of not going to go any further than what you already are. So we feel that with us taking these steps, with us getting the word out there about gender equality, that's maybe us sort of taking some kind of responsibility so that we can pave the way for future women, for maybe our children one day, or people that are in preschool at the moment, So it's just paving the way for people to come on and get on to the same page that we are on right now. So what we've starting with actually is on the 12th of October, we're having a presentation just about exactly what's happened since MCN, what we did at MCN, so that the people on our campus, especially people like our dean and our whole faculty, that they kind of exactly what we've been doing and what we're trying to get across to our universities. So a lot of the students are also going to be there, and we're just going to speak about what the campaign's doing, and that includes our action steps, which starts with our 16 days of activism, where we're going to every single day, we're going to advocate for something within gender equality, with human trafficking, with women that are just being objectified in ways that aren't right and that we need to start advocating for. And I know the problem in South Africa, and especially on our campuses, is people don't really understand they never knew what the MDGs are, and now what the SDGs are. So sorry, it's distracting. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to learn about exactly what the SDGs are, and what it means to be a part of, changing, having sustainable goals, and what it means to just be part of these goals, and what the United Nations is actually trying to do, and what we're trying to achieve by 2030. So with the 60 Days of Activism, it's something that we can bring SDG 5's awareness to, and to ensure that everybody knows exactly what the SDGs are. And what we also want to do is get this ability within the youth. So going and speaking to the schools, and not just starting on our campus from that older age, but actually starting younger, so that most of the people will actually understand from when they get into varsity that they've already been instilled with this thought of, we need to have a better tomorrow, have a better world. So that's basically what we're planning on doing, and that's how we're taking responsibility for changing what the gender stereotypes are in our community. So does anybody have any other ideas how to change the ideas in their community? Yeah.
Okay, well, we'd just like to thank Alejandra. She was actually my Solidarity Share partner at MCN, so it was really awesome to get to know her. And thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I'm going to just share your the message that you sent. It's a bit long, but I'm going to read it, if that's okay. I'll just read it out loud for everyone. So Alejandra said that in April, I went to the Women in the World conference, and that's really amazing, by the way. And Meryl Streep spoke about gender equality and how we can take super simple actions in our lives to bring equality into our lives. And just when you go on a date or to the movies with a group of guy friends, pick the movie you want, vote for the movie you want. The guys will most likely pick a different one, but choosing what movie you will be watching, you are creating the demand for male actors or female actors, and you are voting for who, male or female, will get paid more. It's a distinct theme and example, but interesting that a simple choice like that creates a catalyst for gender equality. And yeah, I couldn't agree more, Alejandra. Thank you so much for that comment. That's so true. And maybe we would, if you're willing to maybe share a little bit more about what you learned and experienced from Women in the World, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you could even just Facebook us in your own time, or send us a message, we'd love to hear more. And I think what we'd also like to do is, if there's no one else, perhaps, is there anyone else who would like to comment on what Alejandra said? Okay, so I'll just move on to the next. I'll move on to the next thing then. That's really, I think, what Alejandra said was, it's so, it's something. What she said that, what she stated about what Meryl Streep said was, it's something that we don't necessarily always think about. So sometimes we think that gender equality will start with something like with major steps. And, often when we achieve those major steps, so for example, we have equality, we have an equality clause in our constitution. It's, it's a major step in, defining like equal law for all, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to feel that way when you attend a party or when you're at a club. Just, very simple examples where there are positions where you, as a woman, might not necessarily feel as equal to male counterparts, or not even that, but even in any person who doesn't feel safe in their gender in a public space or any other space. So that's a really interesting comment. if anyone else has any maybe more personal examples. So, for example, you going to, hi, Abigail.
I have a comment.
Okay, great.
Okay, so my comment is, so on my, I don't know if anybody else has Netflix, but I do. And based on the movies I like, Netflix often suggests movies with a strong female lead. So sometimes just being really articulate about what you're looking for can help explain the demand for something. So if you're on a date or whatever, or you're with friends, you can say, let's have a movie with like a strong female lead or some badass lady in this movie. That's what I want to see. So sometimes just stating that explicitly as let's go find this can help in your personal life in terms of bringing it home.
Thank you. I think also maybe this is such a great thing to speak about because it's something that you can do in your everyday life. It's not that you have to go out and you have to go and look for something to be a part of, but you can actually, if somebody, Sana has a comment and he's like, oh my goodness, that girl's such a slut, say now a guy can be like, you don't even know her, it just takes one friend to kind of stand up and say something different, and then the other person can start thinking about that in their life, and it can kind of go on and move on and become a cycle where actually people start changing the way that they're thinking just from one statement. It takes, quite a courageous person to not stand up against their friends, but maybe just voice their opinion and say, this is maybe not such a great way of thinking. And it changes a lot of other people's thoughts, which I think is, the basis of what Alejandro was doing. It's an amazing way to start the change within our own lives.
Going off of what you said, and the community that I'm in, people try to implement, bystander intervention when things happen in our surroundings. Normally, people tend to say, okay, it's up to someone else to take care of this. It's someone in the leadership or whoever is presumed to be the one stepping up is going to take action, so I'm not going to do anything about it. That's what people think. But so in the U.S. mainly, I don't know if there's any other places, but there's this idea of having bystander intervention. When you see anything wrong happening, you have to step up and you have to, make yourself heard and have your own opinion. And I like that idea. I've seen it in so many, in so many events, so many conversations that I have with my friends. So we have to eliminate the idea of, okay, it's everyone's job or it's someone's job, but it's not mine. Like somebody will take care of it somehow. But if we all try to take some small contribution in it and say whatever we feel at the moment, make it heard and voice our opinion, we can move forward a lot easier than leaving the responsibility to a certain group of society or certain group of friends or whoever is presumed to be taking care of these things. So I like the idea of bystanders intervention. Like everyone steps in, says whatever they feel like, whatever their opinion is, and everyone says something, everyone contributes. So that's a better way of handling things.
Thanks, Barry, so much. It's also so nice for us to see a guy's point of view, to get, women empowerment. Everybody's like, oh, women, all women the whole time. So it's great to hear a different side and just actually hear from a guy's point of view, because it takes a stronger guy to kind of stand up and actually say, I'm here to fight for women's rights as well. Because a lot of people, the perception around fighting for women's rights as a male is kind of like not seen as the most amazing thing to do. People would stand up for children or something like that. So it's great to actually see that guys are standing up for this as well, and we really appreciate your guys' input. It's really amazing. Thank you.
I have another comment. Okay, I promise to be quiet after this. I'm just excited. I think in terms of getting men on board, we have to make the case that men are put in this masculine box, and it's not just about women's rights. It's men's rights to be fully human, and men have the right to be sensitive and caring and all these things that women actually get to be all the time, or at least stereotypically so. But we could also pitch this as, all genders have the right to be fully human in a variety of masculine and feminine qualities. So I think like mentioning that to men that, hey, you get to be even more of a human being by joining with us.
Thank you so much, Abigail. I also asked my boss at work. She does quite a few studies on gender and gender roles, and it was so interesting to hear what she had to say about patriarchy and how that's systemic in society. And she said it's interesting because you is supported by the society itself. So everyone who the only reason why patriarchy was able to survive all these years was that there was a system in place to keep it there. And that was supported by the rest of society, which was children, women, everyone in the society. And then she said, well, the question that you need to ask in how do you change perceptions now and how do you advocate for gender equality is to include everyone, is to be all inclusive, because you need everyone's support to change an entire society because they all form part of it. So I think that's really the thread of our campaign, is that we want to be completely inclusive to everyone because we all form part of the same society. So yeah, that's really interesting. I think, and then what Barry said as well, there was something that came to my mind about, changing or encouraging people to actually to step up. During the 70th annual General Assembly that was recently held in New York. So that's our current affairs component of this global forum. That there was it was very interesting to see the world leaders, that they made a point of reaching out to the youth and saying we call upon the youth to lend their help and their skills, because, and it was so great to see that they place such a lot of emphasis on the need for that and the need to have youth be involved and engaged with these issues. So that's exactly what you were saying, Barry, about, how do you, I think it's also important to encourage people to actually step up and to say that, you can step up without being stigmatized or ostracized, but that it's a supportive, that we create that climate where everyone feels safe and say something. And we have another caller. G5 president. We seem to have another caller, G5 president. If G9.
Can you hear us? No?
Okay.
Okay, we'll carry on. Hello? Not sure. Okay, we'll just carry on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems that they left. Okay, so perhaps to just continue on our current affairs component, because we're also meant to have a current affairs component in every global forum. So we'd encourage everyone who's part of this conversation and who would like to join in the next one as well to, if you have any current affairs you'd like to discuss on this platform, on our Facebook group, or even email that to us, and then they could we could actually share that in the next global forum. And then for this one, we'd actually just perhaps like to talk a little bit about the UN, the 70th Annual Assembly, because I think that's very important. I think I'd just like to put it out there that it was so amazing to see how so many world leaders stress the need for gender equality and how that actually plays a role in the other development goals. So, and it was really interesting for me to see as well that, and I'd never really thought about it that much, is how important education, SDG goal number 4, education, and even SDG number 5, how they really work hand in hand. And maybe it's at this point I can also share a bit about what we're planning to do with another aspect of our campaign. So we would like to perhaps focus on also encouraging schools, especially in our rural communities, to in some sort of way of like mentoring them so that they can be, be motivated and inspired to pursue tertiary education. So it was quite shocking to see the statistics on what the lack of education, or how that's affected countries, and what improved education, how that can further the development of countries. And so we have 2 grade 11 goals at the moment, but we will keep you posted on their stories. We are going to be personally mentoring them and helping them to find bursaries it'll be next year, their matric year. So we'll be just assisting them with that process, and we'd love the input from the greater community as well. So to keep you up to date and maybe a bit more personally involved, we'll share their story on our Facebook page as well as on the NCN Global Campaigns page. Oh, okay. Exciting. Thank you again, Alejandra. We just got your message, so we'll read it out to everyone. Alejandra says, my friend Alexis and I are involved in multiple organizations. Most are all funded / organized by women. But when we have events for the organizations or meetings, we invite our male friends because more often than not, they either don't know about these organizations or the work that we do in our communities. After our guy friends attend these events / meetings, they actually are engaged and continue to attend future events and support the organization. At fundraisers or film screenings. I think everyone has a genuine interest in gender equity, but the problem is the lack of education about women's leadership roles, opportunities, issues we face, and those others face around the world. But involve everyone in all you do. Maybe the first time they will say no, but as they see your passions and persistence, they become interested. Thank you so much for sharing that, Alejandra. That's really inspiring as well. I think that's something that we'll definitely take note of to include that in, in our action campaigns. So we just bear in mind that we always invite everyone and not be, sort of exclusive or exclude anyone in society. So I think that's really great, especially on campus. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult to get various people involved. When you say gender equality, I know a couple of my male friends, they get this almost sort of I don't know how I feel about that. So almost, so many double standards. And I have some of my male friends saying things like, oh, but you expect us to pay for your dinner if we take you out on dates, but you want to have equal rights. How does that work? And so, I think it's really great to just encourage people and just to invite male friends, even if they do say things like that. It's great to be able to change perspective with education. So thank you so much for sharing. Does everyone do any of you have ideas on how we can encourage participation from all genders on campus, sort of in campus events or on campus, or even in the community?
Yeah, so basically, how can we make gender equality appealing to everybody? How can everybody get excited about it as we are?
Can I jump in? One of the good ways probably would be having fun activities. I know we've discussed it in the MCN workshop that we had in New York, but you guys, somebody mentioned about having a unisex sort of events. Well, guys could actually act or dress as women, and women could do the same. It could act as a men, and trying to kind of create that gender fluidity, but sort of usually those like fun activities I've learned from my experience in my college. When people are gathered and are having fun, or like whether it's playing soccer, for example, whether it's having some talent shows, these kind of fun activities, a lot of people tend to show up and tend to have fun. Everybody wants to enjoy their college experience with their peers. So having these sort of engaging in fun activities is one of the good ways to raise awareness and to get more students involved. So that's one of the ideas. It's more general, like it's vague, I know, but from what I've learned in my other clubs, these, this idea helps a lot in making awareness.
Thanks so much, Mary. Yeah, it's definitely it's something where when your friends are involved, it's easier to get involved, but it was difficult to be that first person trying to push through and get everybody involved. So I think it's a to make something fun and exciting that people would ordinarily want to go to, and then just add the fact that your gender equality, you're actually doing good while you're having fun and doing what you want to do. So I think it's a great way to start and get as much people involved as possible.
Thank you so much. That is very true. Especially I think the students, they have this tendency to only attend things that are going to be a blast, and it's going to be fun. So that's really a key idea, especially to getting the sort of the idea of the campaign out there. And something interesting that also came up during the workshop was the idea of the gender bender equality ball. But then I remember Taylor actually, she made that this sometimes it leads to a sort of over stereotyping, because people think, oh, I'm going to swap genders, but then they sort of it becomes this idea of taking it sort of as a joke, overdressing in very offensive ways. So that's, I think we've thought about it, and how do we change that idea. I don't know, perhaps someone out there has maybe just a comment on that. What do we do if people take things perhaps as sometimes or appropriate? So maybe how do we
Hi, I think we have Azab who has just joined us. Is that correct? Hi, is everyone here?
Hello.
Hi, is this Azab?
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's me. How are you?
Do you want to just take a second to introduce yourself, your name, where you're calling from?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, would you like to take a
Hello.
minute to introduce yourself?
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, my name is.
Oh no. I think it may have froze for a second. So who can actually hear right now?
We can hear.
Okay. Okay, so you all can hear us. I believe as of like, oh, I think he's back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
perfect.
sorry.
Where are you calling from?
Do you hear me? I hear you clearly.
Hear you.
That's cool. Do you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear?
Thank you. My name is Muhammad. Do you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Muhammad from Sudan. Really, it's not so nice to be with you here. Do you hear me clearly? Say you hear me?
It's a bit rough. We
Hello?
can't hear you so clearly.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really so sorry for my lateness because my internet connection is so slow. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. So I'm gonna shut up for a while and hear you what you say.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's so great. Yeah.
Guys, I feel so bad. I lost you guys for a second.
Oh, welcome back.
It said my internet connection was unstable. I was like, oh no, like I can't. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, yeah, but thank you so much.
Yeah, everybody kind of got a bit lost there for a second, but I think everybody's back now.
Yeah. So Natalie, maybe we can hear from you. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit more about why you inspired you advocate for gender equality, or is it something that you do, maybe challenges that you face as a woman in leadership?
I'm so sorry. I'm having such trouble. Like my audio is just breaking up. Like, can you send that like via the chat? Do you think?
Okay, I'll do that. So
My computer's being so. I like cannot hear you guys. Oh, guys, it's got the stable again. I have no idea what's happening. I feel so bad. Yeah, I can't see anyone
maybe because of this bad connection issue.
Natalie, would it work better if you called in by phone?
Yeah.
Natalie, I can send you the phone number to call if that would make it easier for you to hear us.
I'll just post some questions on the chat, and then whoever can hear or can access the chat, if you want to then respond via the chat, and maybe that'll help us better with the problems with the visuals and the audios. I think that might be the best for right now. And we'll also post some questions like that, maybe then we can put this as our last question to you guys, so that we can wrap up a bit and not have, try to get a better signal for the next forum. Also, if anybody has ideas as to titles that they want for the next forum, they can, send that straight to us, and we can try work on getting something like that going. Posted on the chat some questions that we would like to hear from you guys, your guys' answers.
Then I think I'd just like to say we would perhaps move last point about the component of the forum. Perhaps just to discuss what the next global forum, what the topic for that will be. And then we would like to perhaps just let you know a little bit more about the next our events. And then because we'd really love for people who are overseas, wherever in the world, to be able to keep up to date on the progress that we're having here, and also to be able to affect perhaps the same events that we're doing here, that you could we could collaborate with events that we'd like to host on your campuses as well. So maybe just then let you know about the next global forum, and that we would like to have, but we'll check with Jeline, obviously, of course. We'll just see what dates suits as well. But we'd like to center that global forum around the 16 days of awareness. And that 16 days of awareness is awareness on human trafficking. It's basically recognized in South Africa as the 16 days where during these days there are a couple of events hosted nationally with that sort of highlights the position that South Africa is in at the moment. We have very high rates of rape and domestic violence in the country, as well as being a hub for human trafficking. So that's something that the national community has decided to take 16 days of awareness. So we'd really like to center the conversation around that, and then keep you up to date on from the 25th onwards days as to what we're doing during that. And then also we will be posting a video and photos of our presentation on the 12th of October. So it would be great if you could catch up with us on that. And then if you would like to also get involved on social media, yes, it's a bit difficult for us because our internet is so slow in South Africa. We sometimes do struggle, we must say, with just connecting on social media. So it would be really great if anyone knows of someone who would like to be involved as maybe as like a social media advocate as part of our campaign. We'd really like to have you on board, as well as perhaps someone who is interested in graphic design, or maybe who's very creative, or you know someone who is the part of this campaign, would really like you to contact us.
Okay, so I think, yeah, is there any last points? So does anybody have an idea of what we can do our next forum on? Something that they think that they've seen quite a lot in their day-to-day lives, that they think would be something great to get the discussion going on about. So within, domestic violence, what aspects would you maybe want to speak about? We'll run with that.
Perhaps we can hear from Sunita. Maybe you would like to, if you have any suggestions, if you'd like to, but no pressure, you can post it on the group as well. It's been great to have you here and do this conversation, and we really hope that you also connect with us through Facebook, and would love to also hear where you're from and what challenges you may be facing in your community, and how we out to you and help you as well. So it would really be great to share stories and just build partnerships through this forum as well. I think your speaker's still on mute.
Hello.
Hello?
How do you hear me?
Yes.
How are you? It's a pleasure for me to see you. Actually, I'm Mohammed from Sudan. Mohammed from Sudan. I'm a student. Actually, I have been graduated before 3 months ago in nursing field. Actually, we in issues of the gender violence. Actually, we get problem in the women rights and girls as all. The violence started from the childhood. Childhood is started by the circumcision. Actually, it is the biggest violence against the girls in my country here. All of them suffered from it. Those days we lead some initiative to fight this habit, or we call it norms in our country here. Do you hear me clearly? If you hear me, tell me. Cool.
We can hear you.
Can I keep going?
Yes. No, you're welcome to.
Cool. Actually, kind of female genital mutation, we call it FGM. You know about that, actually? You do? So it is the first one they started. And then we moved to the biggest problem ever in the marriage between the husband and wife. There is a lot of problems. The problems started with some conversation, whatever what is it, and the man hit his wife. Actually, that is the biggest one. The biggest problem over this, the woman cannot know their rights. Actually, how to take the law and the what we call it, right for trades. I think if they do something like this, if they go to the police station or something else, they saw this problem as shameful for them. Actually, shameful to make your husband here or to beat him in the jail. That's something so bad, for the wife or the woman at all. Next of that, the relative, the fathers and the mother, they aren't let their girls or their daughter to go to the law. Actually, they aren't allowed to them. According to our norms and according to our culture. Actually, so that is big problem at all. I want to hear from you though. Actually, so I'm gonna shut up for a while and then we can get going. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's really something
You're
that.
welcome.
Thank you, really, for sharing that. It's definitely something I know in African countries and in predominantly in African countries, especially with the traditions. There are so many traditional norms that do tend to really oppress women and to stereotype them and to devalue women. And perhaps it's also just to be able to open up the conversation to challenge those constructs. It is, I must say, I think it is quite daunting for us to think, how do we, on a broader global scale, try to advocate for rights of women, especially in countries where there aren't rights necessarily protecting, so there aren't substantive rights that are necessarily protecting those women's issues. And I think it's important, though, to be able to facilitate these kind of conversations around that. And I think perhaps maybe during the course of our campaign, there's something that we learn in terms of traditions and traditional cultures, because that's really what we started with, is looking to challenge these traditions, looking at Kutwala and Lobola broad tribes, looking at these sort of traditions, saying, okay, how do you encourage people who value these traditions, how do you encourage them to rethink them and to rethink within the context of preserving their traditions, but including human rights for everybody, and that everybody is valuable. And maybe you could also discuss the idea of, I know Ubuntu is it's a African ideology, sort of more that it's that idea of everyone is within the community, everyone is accepted, everyone is a member, everyone is valued. And I think maybe using that traditional value to override values or cultures that uphold gender inequality, to use that to maybe override it. And I think maybe just more. So I read an article where I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it specifically, but what I can do is I'll look for it and I'll post it on the Facebook group. But I do remember that it was on genital mutilation, and where the doctors themselves, the doctors and the nurses and all the people who actually perform these surgeries, and even if it's done in the traditional sense, where it'll be perhaps the elder of that community will conduct the procedure, where the people are actually educated on the procedure and how painful it is and the repercussions of it and what the effect is on the woman's life, then usually those people opt out of actually performing the procedure. So that's a very important component to gender equality. And as we've seen conversation, as well as what we learned from our MCC conference, and what the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, how the emphasis is placed on education and awareness to achieve gender equality. Okay, well, I think that if perhaps we could conclude with that. But first, we'd like to just maybe open up the floor again if there's any other input or any comments that what we've just discussed. Perhaps we could just open the floor once more. We'll have any concluding remarks or any topics, perhaps ideas for the next forum, ideas on and domestic violence, as well as gender-based violence. You can also post these suggestions or ideas on our Facebook group, as well as just putting them, you can even just post them quickly on the chat, and then we'll quickly share it with the rest of the group.
Hey guys, I'll have to be heading out in like 5 minutes, so I just wanted to have my final bit of it. Final say. So there is, as you say, there's violence occurring in every place, and there are violences occurring every day that we don't even hear about. So there's plenty of needs for actions towards this violence occurring everywhere in the world. And us, we are from different parts of the world. You guys are in South Africa, right? I don't know about everyone else. I'm from Ethiopia. Even though I study in the US, and I hear lots of things from back home every day. Things are happening, and we would like to share on the Facebook page as well, in our shoes. And I think we should keep the conversation going, and even events going on our campus. We should probably share it and have conversations about it, discussions, and keep the conversation going by commenting or whatever. So I'm very excited for it. It's a great start, and glad to meet you guys again.
Barry, thank you so much for being a part of this, our first global forum. I know we had a couple of technical difficulties, but thanks for just hanging in there and being patient. But yeah, thank you for your input, really some really valuable comments that you gave, and we're looking forward to working with you as well. And perhaps we can talk a little bit more about, what initiatives you can run on your campus, and maybe we can, run it collaboratively. So yeah, we're really excited, and thank you again for being a part of our workshop as well, and it's great to see you here as well. So looking forward to seeing you at the next Global Forum. Yeah, thank you again, and great seeing you too.
Okay,
bye. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think that's where we can maybe conclude with that, saying goodbye to Barry and thanking everybody else for being a part of this forum. It was really, I think it was quite successful for the first one, and now we know exactly how to move on, how to get forward from this, and we're just going to make it bigger and better every single time. And I think if anybody has any more suggestions and anything else, inbox us on Facebook, message us, let us know exactly what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and even though we have these big time differences, we're always available on our social media. We're always available, and we're trying to see if our followers can post on our page. We're not exactly sure about the technicalities about that, but if you have comments, please comment on anything, and message us privately if you have stories that you want us to share for you. I think that's a great way for us to start getting this out there, and also with us having our presentations and things like that, maybe you guys can also do something like that on your campuses as well, so we can just get this widespread across the world. So I think that's...
Yes, that was beautiful. Thank you everyone for joining. We had an incredible representation from all around the world. And I think, that's really the first step to achieving gender equality. Just sit down, have a real global conversation about issues we see in our own communities. So I think we should all resolve to bring a friend to the next forum, bring someone, bring a male, bring a female, bring in other, anyone. Just having more people in on this conversation and having them, hear from people all around the world and have the opportunity to share their own thoughts and ask these pressing questions. There's so many difficult questions that come up with this topic. And just creating a space for us all to deliberate on them and, provide that kind of respectful and safe environment is really, really special. So again, so glad you could join us. Hope to see you again at the next forum, as well as your friends, classmates, colleagues, family members, anyone. So yeah, it was wonderful seeing you all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week and a fabulous weekend. So yeah, do we have any last thoughts, comments? Anyone?
Great job, everyone. This is wonderful. Yeah, good conversations. Yeah.
We just want to thank you. Thanks so much, Abigail, and thank you, Jeline. Thank you for facilitating this. It was really great. Global Forum, and it was wonderful to hear from everyone.
Can you hear me? Oh.
Yes, as well. So.
How? I'm really so sorry for my. I'm share with you a lot of information, but next time I'm hoping that we share a lot of information, with each other. I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you my little information with you. I hope next time we have to reflect our cultures to each other. We have to reflect it for the purpose. We gonna make an international policies that can prevent the gender violence, prevent and protect the woman from the other equal violence, from each other's violence also. So we have to make it. So my suggestion for you: we have to reflect our cultures. We have to reflect the social way of life for the woman in our countries to be shared, and to on that pace we can make the what we call it the policies and anything else. That's all.
Thank you very much, and it's a great point for us. Share our cultures, make sure that we're all coming from the same direction. We're all understanding what all the different types of people across the world are doing, and how we can connect, and how we can build on that and make it just easier for all of us to connect.
Yes. Sorry. One last thought. Maybe we could all leave this with kind of like a personal challenge. Next time you're just having a conversation with your friends, for example, something comes up, doesn't really sit well with you, speak up, say something. And if we all maybe just kind of go out and challenge ourselves to do this more often, we can start, changing these paradigms, these social paradigms that are perpetuating these kinds of inequalities. So personally, I will challenge myself to do that.
Thank you so much. And I love that idea. Thank you so much, Jeline. We'll definitely take that up as well and encourage everyone to do that. Okay. Well, I think what we'll do then, Jeline, is thank you so much for that idea. And then either at the next Global Forum, we'll share.
We gonna thanks for hosting us.
I'm so sorry, Azabio. Your connection isn't that clear. Perhaps you'd like to just post on our chat, and it's at the bottom of the screen. Perhaps you'd just like to type us your last comments.
Cool. You talk to me. I can hear you. I can't hear you. Are you saying something for me?
So unfortunately, we can't hear you, but perhaps you can, I'll send you a message and perhaps you can quickly reply in a comment. I think I'd also just like to take an opportunity to thank Natalie. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on note. And then we can just talk a little bit more about the blog post as well. As far as I know, I think you have things trained to do, write about what you want to, and if you'd like our input, but we will message you and then work on that together. But otherwise, I think it's all up to you what you want to say. And
thank you so much for being so willing to be a part of this and helping us so much. And that, whenever we need something, we know we can always message you, and you're always so up for it and ready to just help us. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate your willingness.
Yeah, no problem. I just you guys, I think you guys are so wonderful. I love what you're doing. I just admire you guys so much, and you guys are doing the most amazing thing, just trying to bring this out to the world. So I just want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of it. And I'm so sorry for this forum I couldn't really be that much of a contribution because my internet kept going in and out, and I feel so bad. But hopefully I did a good job of or can do a good job of trying to get it out there for you guys. So I just wanted to thank you guys so much for having me do that for you. It really was an honor. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think on that note, we can missions and try and make that change in your community and make that happen for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what we're looking forward to is our next global forum, and that will be centered around the 16 days of awareness, human trafficking, domestic violence, and gender-based violence. So we will, we're looking at inviting a guest lecturer who is actually our professor, and she's an actual advocate of the High Court who specializes in human trafficking cases. So if we do get her, fingers crossed, it would be really great to hear from her. And then, we were going to share our personal challenges from now till our next global forum, and hopefully we have some very interesting stories to share with everyone.
Yeah. So actually thinking is if you guys can send us a photo with what your personal mission is, then we can put it up onto our Facebook page and get our social media going and flowing like that, so that they can actually put a face to what we're doing. Yeah. So I think that's it.
That's a wrap.
Yeah. So
yeah, wonderful. So we can all say our goodbyes and close this wonderful first forum. I'm so excited to hopefully see all of you again at the next forum. And until then, if you have any thoughts, ideas, send them over our way. We think you shared some really interesting insight, and we'd love to continue hearing from you. So yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to post on our Facebook, email me, Jay Wong. I'll type it in the group chat. If you have any logistical questions about the program, send them my way, anything really. So yeah, there it is.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raina.
Bye, everyone.
See you all.
Okay, cool. Okay, then. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye then. Thank you.
Uh,